Item 14, take action on airport commercial operator contract.
Mr. Chairman, we met, the airport advisory committee met last night and discussed the contract, and it was the opinion of the advisory board that we not have a business in the main hangar of the airport. And since we don't have a business in the main hangar of the airport, and are recommending that they don't ever have a business in there, that they thought in their motion also that it was not necessary to have a contract for a business in the main hangar. And so that would be the motion that I would say, that I would make for the county board to approve.
What was the vote?
The vote was 4-2 and 1 abstention. 4 to approve that, and 2 against it, and 1 abstention.
So if this motion passes, what happens to the motion that was made 2 months ago with the business lease with RSB Aviation? Is that still gate to, or should that be something the state's attorney might make an opinion about? Because we had a motion that passed 2 months ago to work out a business lease, not with RSB Aviation, to use the hangar as a business. So is that motion no longer?
It was motion, right? There was a motion to have a contract for the main hangar
with RSB Aviation. Right? Am I correct? Augie, you had a motion that was made?
Well, I don't have it with me, but my best recollection.
It was specifically with RSB, yes.
Yes.
Right, conduct business in the hangar.
Yes.
So there's just a motion to gate that motion, or is that motion still in effect?
Yes, it would.
That's only your opinion?
That would be the motion that we're going to pass now.
So what
or not
happens
pass.
I think what Dan's saying is that the motion directed the committees, meaning the airport committee and the advisory committee, to come up with a contract. And that has not been fulfilled.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I think that's what he's saying.
And I'm saying that it has been by the fact that they're saying that they no longer see a reason to have a business there, so how would you have a contract for a business that's not there?
Does the motion that was passed last night delineate that the airport will not have, how does the actual, what does it actually say? In other words, does it say the entire airport, just the hangar?
The main hangar.
It was specifically the main hangar.
Right.
So it, as far as the commercial business,
there was no problem with the commercial business building a building there, assuming that they give a lease with the county for ground to do it.
Right. Okay. And if this summer, when fertilizer companies come in with crop dusters,
right, that'd be nothing to do with
that. Has nothing to do with what you guys passed last. Right. So if they are not in the main hangar, operating out on the runway,
it has nothing to do with that, right?
So if this motion passes, then we should be able to reduce the staff at the airport, right? Because we'll not have the same amount of traffic. So we shouldn't need a secretary.
Well, that's an assumption.
Well, I'm assuming.
Yes, and then also
everything else.
Up to them.
I mean, common sense would tell you if you don't have a business at the hangar, you're not going to have the same amount of traffic on the runways, right? Therefore, you would not need the same staff.
Is there anything in the federal or state issues and grants and agreements that we have that this would violate?
No. All of the requirements by state and federal participation money are being and have been met. It is an open public airport, open to the general aviation public. I will interject a little bit. You're talking and revert back to the motion. I do respect what Mr. Henry said. But the motion to write a contract had a deadline on that motion. That deadline was not met. It was given another deadline. That deadline was not met.
What was the
It
second
can't-
deadline? Pardon me, but I don't want to interrupt you, but same token, the one deadline was not met, and the board decided to extend the deadline. The lease, business lease that was made by the three subcommittees had it done by March the 18th. The deadline was this meeting, so the business lease was done by March the 18th.
That business
It just
lease,
wasn't turned in to anybody, because Ben wanted to go through a different sequence of people looking at it, which the committee disagreed with.
And go through the sequence that the county board agreed to.
No, the
No.
county board didn't know nothing about the sequence.
yes, the county board did it.
Except for
The
a
county,
workshop.
the county, it was to come to the county board at the meeting that we have at the highway office and or the study session, and then it was to go to the state's attorney. And the last I knew, it hadn't even gotten the written quotes from the insurance company. So,
Well, the second
It was
deadline
not.
was today, the lease was done by March the 18th.
the recommendation of the airport committee is not to have a commercial operation in the main hangar. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you have made a motion.
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Mr. Helsley seconds it. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, from the financial standpoint, this is a major, major deal, and we've switched directions. Of course, I'm always looking for income for the county. I'm concerned that we're rushing into something that is not probably that well thought out. It hasn't been discussed for 2 months. It's only just been discussed this week. And I don't think that's a fair hearing of something as important as that. It's going to cut about $10,000 worth of income out of the budget. I think this board is charged with the responsibility of developing.
Hangar is still being
I
rented.
have the floor.
Hangar still rented, would be rented. So the dollar
Yes.
amount would be the same.
Do we have it, is there somebody in the wings that wants to rent it right this minute?
No, I'd have to say no.
Okay. I have the floor, Ben. The other thing, my train of thought. We are charged with the economic development of this county as one of our jobs. I'm not saying that this isn't right, but I think for something that's fair, as important as this, we ought to give it the attention it deserves from the economic standpoint, not as a way to backdoor other decisions. That's all I got to say.
Now, if the hangar is rented by somebody else, do they have to have the same amount of insurance, which would be $1 million liability? Because last night you were talking about protecting the county. So they will be required to have the same exact type of insurance and they pay the same rent for the main hangar.
Well, that depends on what they're doing. If they're not,
Well, it make any difference. I mean, if they bring a plane in and somebody's working on the airplane, the chance that the airplane blows up and burns down the hangar is the same as where you have a business in there or a single airplane. So they should have the same amount of insurance, right?
well, what if the guys in the D hangar are working on it?
I don't know about T hangar. All we're talking about is the main hangar. We're talking nothing about T hangar. This is only the main hangar. So it should be required to have
So
some
there's
amount
no
of
difference.
insurance, right?
Well, I'm not, I see where you're going and I understand why you're doing it. My question is there a difference between somebody storing an airplane in there and occasionally working on it, changing the oil, or is there a difference between somebody utilizing that hangar for a business where they do other customers' planes, they do light manufacturing or whatever?
But they do the same thing. I mean, you're still working on the airplane, you still have the same chance of this airplane blowing up, whether it's a business working on the airplane or an individual working
Well,
on the
an
airplane.
answer to the question might be, or arrived at by asking the insurance company,
Okay.
our insurance carrier, what they see
Right.
as a liability and as an issue, if they think there's as much problem.
And I talked
I
to
would
him.
think that a licensed mechanic by the federal government might be just a little bit more acceptable to an insurance company than somebody that's just kind of freehanding it on an airplane. Just guessing.
I have talked to Diamond Brothers, and they actually indicated the type of insurance and amount that should the person using that hangar should have. I mean, they referred to the company, but maybe not to an individual, but they may say it should be the same. So if somebody brings an airplane in and spends a week working on it, the chances of they're going to have an accident will be the same as if somebody, a company that has an airplane working on it, because you're going to do the same thing, right?
But here's an example of where we don't have some answers. This is
That would be something that the advisory board should take up.
well, I'm just saying, we're rushing into a decision here that's going to affect us a long time.
From January to April may seem like a rush to you, Jeff, but it isn't a rush.
I'm talking about that motion. I call the vote.
I will test.
We have a first and a second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Would you read the motion one more time?
The motion is to, the recommendation, have you got it down or you want me to?
Well, Ben was talking about, and he said that he recommends, that the board recommends that there not be any commercial business in the main hangar.
Yes.
It's the way I understood your motion. Is that your motion?
That's the motion that from the advisory board, yes.
Recommendation from the advisory.
Commercial operation.
Commercial operation.
In the main hangar.
In the main hangar. Roll it again, make sure we've got it.
Still answer the question, but first motion is,
Recommendation from the advisory board, airport advisory board, that there be no commercial operation in the main hangar. I mean, I can dress it up, at the airport.
Then the vote will be to take the advisory board, or rather the airport committee's recommendation. So everybody understands how the vote is.
Now, wait a minute. It was the advisory board that made it, not the airport committee.
But it is the recommendation of the airport committee. Ben is the chairman of the airport committee.
Okay.
It's coming to the board to the committee.
Okay. We'll make
I
sure
understand.
that.
I just wanted to clarify it, so
Yeah.
we had it in right.
And the motion is to whether or not to take their recommendation. Roll call.
Voigt?
No.
Zuber?
No.
Brunner?
no,
Farnham?
No.
Helsley?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
4-2.
Motion fails.
I move that the board direct the committee of this board for the airport and the advisory board to go back and readdress the original motion, to carry that out so that we can vote on that here. And in the meantime, to collect back rent and collect on a month-to-month basis so that we can do our fiduciary duty and collect rent for something that's actually done.
All
Okay?
in one motion?
That is not on the agenda.
It is too.
yes,
It is too, because it
Action on the
says,
airport commercial operator contract.
and we're redirecting it back to the committee. I stand by my motion.
Make ancillary
Until this is resolved, we should be collecting for the taxpayers' money, and we should direct that they bring back a motion or a contract to deal with. That was the original motion.
You also have a motion out there that they do not have any lease.
They are there, we should be protected by at least insurance, and we should protect the taxpayers on a month-to-month basis to have collected that $700 roughly, so, and collect back, so that the taxpayers are not subsidizing anybody in this county. I knew that.
Can we make that in two motions so it's cleaner?
No, I don't think it needs to be made.
All right.
I've got a motion on the floor.
Well, I'm deciphering what you said, Jeff. You would like the county board to direct the airport committee and the advisory board to bring a contract to the board, county board.
As originally directed.
Okay.
And further, since we do have an operating business out there,
And collect back lease payments.
and on a month-to-month basis, and to make sure that the proper insurance and so forth, since we're not protecting the taxpayers right now officially.
Well, I have a question, since they don't have a lease, how are you, what guidelines do they follow?
The old lease then.
You will follow the guidelines in the old lease.
No, wait a minute. You're trying to put, I want them to have insurance and pay rent on the space that they currently have.
So there's no, as far as the other lease, there are no obligations at all.
There is no other lease. The lease is the one that's being worked out now, that is done, has been done on March 18th, but for some reason, few people didn't want to accept it, so right now, there's no lease in effect, so.
Okay. It's a month-to-month, and we should be collecting rent and making sure that they have insurance. That's
it.
the very least.
If there's a motion, it doesn't have to be on the lease.
I need clarification on what kind of guidelines you're going to follow.
Well, maybe that'll get things going, so we can finally get it before the board and determine what we're gonna do.
It's our responsibility as board members to protect the county.
That's what I just said.
But there's no guidelines now.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing.
And that's why this needs to be done. That's why there was a deadline set.
And they didn't let us bring it up.
The second deadline is today, because the last time we didn't quite have the lease ready, you said we can have it another month. The month is today, that's the deadline. The lease was done on March the 18th. It was turned over to Ben. So you're saying the second deadline is this meeting today?
Yes, it is.
Right, the lease is done.
And it's been to the insurance company?
It was turned over to the county board airport committee, me and Dan and Mike. We reviewed it, there's things in there that we don't like in there, and that's where the thing was left.
So there is no complete lease today?
There's not a lease that I would approve, no.
Okay.
I thought we had to run it by the state's attorney to make sure what we had decided on there was legal.
Ben wanted to have us
That's true.
vote on the lease and then go to the state's attorney at the end.
No, I wanted us to have it approved by the county board, if they wanted any changes,
And
and
then go to the
then,
state's attorney is what you said.
because all the state's attorney is really doing, he's not saying that we put in there what we want, he's saying that the lease is legally all right.
Okay, point of order.
We've got, read the motion. Please.
Okay, there's a motion by Jeff that the board direct the airport committee and the advisory board to bring a contract to the board, to the county board, as originally directed, and to collect all back lease payments and then monthly collect lease payments and make sure the tenant has insurance.
Which we're not currently doing. I move the
And-
question.
Okay,
I have, I need to, so I can do that before you make the question.
Okay,
Whatever it is,
I
I
will
will
draw
do
that.
I'm still not sure that we can vote on that issue based on this action, but I'm still not sure that action is not in effect based on our prior experience. I mean, I'm not sure we can take action on everything you're saying there, but I'm not sure that our past lease doesn't continue along with the paying of the, whatever it is,
Well, our
rent that
airport
goes on.
managers will take it.
But I mean, I'm not sure they shouldn't.
Well,
I mean, I'm not sure that this is a,
We terminated the.
We terminated the-
did we vote on a termination?
Yeah.
lease?
yes.
Just back.
All right, so there is no lease.
That's what I said, didn't I?
All right. So maybe we do need that motion. That
Yeah.
can get back.
All right. I call the question.
roll that.
Roll, you got a motion and a second.
Okay.
Roll call. Would you reread the motion one more time?
Motion by Jeff to have the county board direct the airport committee and the advisory board to bring a contract to the county board as originally directed and to collect back lease payments and collect rent month to month and make sure that the tenant has insurance.
That's how you intend it, right here?
And I believe, Dan, you had a second? Voigt,
Yes.
Zuber,
Present.
Bruner,
Yes.
Barnum,
Yes.
Elsley,
Present.
Jenness,
Present.
we have 3-3 tie. Patrick?
No, that's not a tie.
That's not a tie?
That is not a tie.
No. I apologize. She's writing down.
Present means no.
Present means you're here.
It increases the majority.
Motion passes.
Yeah, it's 3 yeses and 3 presents.
So it passes.
Yes.